An aged, yellowed scroll was carefully unrolled, containing an obscure dialogue from 2,500 years ago. The first light of dawn penetrates the clouds, ushering in a new day for the lay devotees of the city. The Buddha lay between two sala trees, surrounded by the sorrowful faces of his disciples. Ananda knelt beside the Buddha, tears streaming down, leaving dark stains on the monastic robe. As the moment of the Buddha's nirvana approached, his closest disciple's heart was filled with unease and doubt. He mustered his courage, trembling as he asked the ultimate question that had troubled him for years. Shakyamuni, after you enter nirvana, will you ever return to the cycle of samsara? If even you cannot transcend forever, how can we achieve liberation? The Buddha gently opened his eyes, his gaze clear and profound, as if able to penetrate the boundaries of time and space. Ananda, though his voice was soft, it could be clearly heard by everyone present. Throughout my life, I have guided sentient beings to seek the truth rather than to cling to faith. Today, let me reveal to you the ultimate truth about nirvana. The Buddha slowly sat up, as if summoning all his strength for this final beginning. The morning within the city of the dwelling became unusually serene. Even the birds ceased their singing, as if all of nature was listening attentively to the final teachings of the Enlightened One. Nirvana is neither a place nor a state. The Buddha said it is the complete awakening to ultimate reality, a thorough insight into the nature of birth and death within the cycle of samsara. A doubt flickered in Ananda's eyes. World-honored one, what does this mean? Where will you go after your nirvana? The Buddha smiled and gazed into the distance. I will go to the place I have never left. This enigmatic answer plunged the disciples present into deep contemplation. Ananda knew that the Buddha never spoke meaningless words. Each of his teachings contained profound wisdom. When you ask me whether I will undergo rebirth, you are using a limited mind to comprehend an infinite truth. The Buddha continued, stating that samsara and nirvana are ultimately identical in the ultimate reality. This sentence was like a thunderclap, shocking everyone present. For many years, they have regarded nirvana as the end of samsara, viewing the two as opposing concepts. Currently, Buddhist teachings hold that they are unified on a certain level. Ananda, do you still remember what I said in the Diamond Sutra? The Tathagata comes from nowhere and goes nowhere. Therefore, he is called the Tathagata. Ananda nodded. Yes, it is the Venerable. However, I have never fully understood the meaning of this sentence. Now is the time to understand. The Buddha said, because this understanding will help you face the days when I am not present. Listen, I'm going to tell you a story about the sea and the waves. The disciples present all pricked up their ears, for the Buddha's metaphors always made profound truths easy to understand. Imagine the waves on the ocean. The Buddha began to teach. Each wave has its own shape, height, and strength. Waves rise and fall. They fade away, but they have never truly left the ocean. What is a wave? It is merely a temporary form of seawater. The waves have disappeared, but the ocean water still remains. Ananda's eyes gradually brightened, as if he was beginning to understand something. I, Ananda, and all the Buddhas and beings present here are like the waves upon the ocean. Our physical form, thoughts, and emotions are all temporary manifestations. When the waves subside, they do not vanish but return to the essence of the ocean. Ananda asked excitedly, World-honored one, are you saying that our true nature is like the ocean and our individual existence is merely the waves upon its surface? The Buddha smiled gently and nodded. Indeed, it is so. Nirvana is not extinction, but a return to the original source. The waves subside, but the ocean remains eternal. This metaphor is like a beam of light, illuminating the doubts in Ananda's heart. He began to understand that the Buddha's nirvana was not a departure, but a return to a more essential state of existence. But another disciple of the Buddha asked, if in essence we are all like the ocean, why do we not perceive this oneness? Why are we trapped in the illusion of individual waves? The Buddha closed his eyes and, after a moment, replied, "Because of ignorance. The waves mistakenly believe they are merely waves, forgetting that they are, in essence, the ocean itself. Ignorance obscures our true nature, leading us to mistakenly believe that we are separate, limited beings." Ananda seemed contemplative. The purpose of practice is to unveil the veil of ignorance and realize our true nature. "Yes," the Buddha replied softly, "this is why I often say that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, for at the deepest level, we all have the potential to become Buddhas, just like the ocean." The morning sunlight gradually grows stronger, penetrating the clouds and illuminating the Buddha and his disciples. The Buddha's countenance appeared exceptionally serene in the golden sunlight, as if it had already merged with that radiant light. "Ananda," the Buddha continued, "when you ask me whether there is rebirth after nirvana, this very question arises from dualistic thinking. Samsara and Nirvana may seem opposed, but they are in fact different manifestations of the same essence." Ananda felt confused. "Bhagwan, this seems to differ from your years of teachings. You have always taught us to transcend samsara and attain the state of nirvana." The Buddha looked at him with loving kindness. "Yes, because that is a skillful means to guide sentient beings. For sentient beings attached to the worldly realm, it is necessary to first provide them with a direction, a goal. But when you approach the truth, even this goal must be relinquished. Just as crossing a river requires a boat, once you have reached the other shore, you no longer need to carry the boat with you." This metaphor suddenly enlightened Ananda. Dharma is a skillful means to liberate beings, but ultimately, even this tool must be relinquished to attain true freedom. "The Blessed One," Ananda asked cautiously, "then after your nirvana, how shall we seek you? How can I keep in contact with you?" A gentle light flickered in the Buddha's eyes. "Ananda, you have followed me for many years. Do you still not understand? I have never truly existed apart from you. When you sit in silent meditation, when you treat all beings with a heart of compassion, when you see a flower bloom or hear the call of a bird and your heart is filled with joy, there I am." Ananda's tears flowed once again, but without the guidance of the Blessed One, I fear I would lose my way. "The Dharma realm will be your guide." The Buddha answered, "All that I teach is not for you to depend on me, but for you to become your own light." A true practitioner does not need external idols, for the seed of enlightenment lies within their own heart. Although the Buddha's voice was weak, it was filled with power. "Remember, Ananda, the Dharma is not in the scriptures, not in the temples, nor even in my words." The sky within the courtyard became extraordinarily clear, and the rising sun dispelled the last trace of mist. "They will build magnificent temples and sculpt spiritual Buddha statues, yet forget what is most important." "What is most important?" "Venerable," Ananda asked, "is it awareness? Is it compassion? Is it wisdom?" The Buddha responded, "It is the lucid state that allows you to be fully present in this very moment. Without these, no matter how many sutras are recited or how many prostrations are performed, they remain mere hollow rituals." Regarding whether the nirvana-hued being undergoes samsara, the Buddha's voice softened, and he said, "Allow me to explain it in another way. Imagine a drop of rain falling into a river, the river flowing into the ocean. Does that drop of rain still exist?" Ananda contemplated for a moment and reflected that, in a certain sense, it no longer exists in the form of conditioned phenomena, yet its essence, water, still remains within the ocean. "Exactly so," the Buddha smiled and said, "My individual form will vanish, but my essence will return to that boundless, limitless world, and that is, Ananda, it has never been absent, nor has it ever been other than you." This sentence was like a key that opened a door in Ananda's heart. For many years, he regarded the Buddha as an external teacher and nirvana as an unattainable goal. Now he begins to understand that awakening is not about reaching a certain place, but realizing that we have never truly left home. "Ananda," the Buddha gazed at his closest disciple and asked, "Do you remember the story of the lotus?" The lotus grows from the mud, yet it remains unstained by it. Similarly, the awakened one, though born into the world, is not defiled by it. Ananda nodded. Yes, world-honored one. Then the Buddha continued, when the lotus flower withers, where does it go? This question plunged Ananda into deep contemplation. After the lotus flower withers, its petals fall into the water, eventually decomposing and returning to the earth. The essence and life of the lotus continue to exist in the form of a seed, awaiting the next blossoming. I understand, Shakyamuni, Ananda said softly. Your physical form will depart, but your teachings, your compassion, and your wisdom will continue to exist in this world in countless forms. The Buddha smiled and nodded. Moreover, Ananda, those teachings, compassion, and wisdom, they have never been separate from you. When you fully understand this, you will realize that I have never truly departed. The Buddha, Ananda asked again, you said that Nirvāṇa and Samsara are ultimately inseparable in the true nature. Then what is the meaning of becoming a Buddha? The Buddha looked deeply at Ananda and replied, the meaning of becoming a Buddha is not about escaping something, but about fully understanding and embracing the true nature of all things. When you no longer resist any experience, when you can view suffering and happiness with equanimity, when you are no longer driven by desire and fear, you then live in Nirvāṇa, even while still walking in the world. Ananda bowed his head, contemplating this profound truth. For many years, he regarded cultivation as a journey from this shore to the other shore. Now he begins to understand that true practice is recognizing both this shore and the other shore. Ananda, the Buddha's voice grew softer and softer. Remember, the Dharmakaya is neither born nor destroyed. The Sabhagakaya manifest in accordance with conditions. The Nirmakaya appears to benefit sentient beings. My physical body will depart, but the Dharma body eternally exists. Ananda perceived the farewell intent in the Buddha's words, and his heart was filled with sorrow. Although he had begun to understand the deeper truths spoken by the Buddha, as a human being, he still could not fully transcend the sorrow of his teacher's impending departure. The Buddha, Ananda's voice choked with emotion. You once spoke of the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, and the 12 links of dependent origination. Are these all skillful means to help us comprehend the ultimate truth? The Buddha nodded. Yes, Ananda. Just as a finger points to the moon, the finger itself is not the moon. My teachings are like a finger pointing to the truth, but they are not the truth itself. The ultimate truth cannot be conveyed through words. It can only be realized through direct experience. Ananda recalled many years ago at the Bamboo Grove Monastery in Rajagaha, when the Buddha held up a golden flower and remained silent, prompting a knowing smile among the assembly alone. Now, Ananda seems to begin to comprehend the significance of that scene. The Buddha, Ananda asked, if words cannot express the ultimate truth, then what is the significance of your teachings all these years? The Buddha smiled and replied, his words like a guiding lamp, capable of leading you toward the truth, but ultimately, you must verify that truth for yourself. My teachings are a map, not a spiritual chart. A map can guide the direction, but you must embark on the journey yourself. Ananda took a deep breath, feeling something within his heart begin to loosen, a long-standing attachment gradually melting away. Ananda, the Buddha, continued, you asked me whether after parinirvana there is still rebirth? When ice melts into water, can the water return to the state of ice? Ananda reflected for a moment and said, Bhagwan, ice and water are essentially different states of the same substance. Therefore, to say that ice returns to the state of water, or water returns to the state of ice, inherently presupposes the dualistic notion of separation. Exactly so, a glimmer of contentment shone in the Buddha's eyes as you began to understand. Nirvāṇa and samsara, enlightenment and delusion, liberation and bondage. These seemingly opposing concepts are ultimately different manifestations of the same ultimate reality. The Blessed One, Ananda asked in a low voice, then what is your answer? After attaining Nirvāṇa, will you still undergo rebirth? The Buddha gazed deeply at Ananda, his eyes penetrating the confines of time and space, as if simultaneously beholding both the past and the future. Everyone held their breath, awaiting the enlightened one's answer to the ultimate question. The Buddha smiled and said, "I have never truly departed, nor will I ever truly return." This answer was like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the darkness in Ananda's heart. He suddenly understood that nirvana is not about going somewhere, but recognizing the essence we have never truly been separated from. Samsara is not a return to a certain place, but a forgetting of this truth. The sun was already high in the sky, and the lay practitioner was bathing in the warm sunlight. The Buddha's countenance was exceptionally serene, as if he had transcended the limitations of the physical body. "Ananda," the Buddha softly said, "remember, do not cling to my words, but understand the meaning behind the words. Do not cling to my physical form, but look beyond the form to perceive the phenomena behind it." The Buddha closed his eyes, as if intending to rest for a while. Ananda sat quietly to the side, contemplating the recent conversation. He felt his mind undergoing a profound transformation, with years of doubt gradually dissolving. In the distance, several birds soar freely in the sky, their songs crisp and melodious. Ananda looked at them and suddenly understood the true meaning of freedom. Freedom is not escaping from somewhere, but realizing that we have never been bound. The Buddha opened his eyes once more, and his gaze seemed to transcend the present moment, perceiving a distant future. "Ananda, in the days to come, countless sentient beings will lose their way due to misunderstandings of my teachings. They regard nirvana as an unattainable goal and view practice as a painful process." Ananda asked with concern, "Bhagwan, what can we do to prevent such situations from occurring?" The Buddha smiled and replied, "This is precisely the way of nature. Truth is always misunderstood and then rediscovered again. This is an inevitable process for sentient beings to learn, like the tides receding and returning, the moon waxing and becoming full again. This is the rhythm of the universe." "Ananda," the Buddha's voice became even gentler. "After I am gone, countless people will speak in my name, establishing various sects and traditions. Some people will accurately convey my teachings, while others will distort them. Regardless, as long as that teaching can help sentient beings reduce suffering and increase compassion and wisdom, it is valuable. Finally, Ananda, the Buddha said, do not grieve my passing. Those who truly understand my teachings will realize that I have never truly departed. I am present in the gentle breeze, in the sunlight, in every act of your compassionate kindness toward all beings, and in every moment of your mindful awakening. The sun begins to shine brightly, its golden rays piercing through the forest, bestowing a sacred radiance upon all. The Buddha appeared more serene than in the morning, as if he had already begun to merge with everything around him. Ananda, the Buddha said in his final words, do not seek me in my remains, do not seek me in the scriptures, do not seek me in memories. If you wish to see me, seek me in the mindful awareness of the present moment, for there has always been my home. The Buddha smiled gently and closed his eyes. The dusk within the stone fortress is exceptionally beautiful, with the afterglow of the setting sun bathing every face, as if it were the Buddha's final blessing. That night, the bright moon hung high, and the stars twinkled gently. Ananda sat alone under a large tree, reflecting on the daytime conversation with the Buddha. He felt that something was changing within his heart, something was being understood. He looked up at the starry sky and recalled the words of the Buddha. When you see the stars, you see not only light but also time. The starlight you see was emitted millions of years ago. By the time the light reaches your eyes, the stars that emitted it may no longer exist. This is the essence of impermanence. Now, Ananda began to understand that the Buddha's teachings were just like this. The Buddha's physical body may depart, but the light of his wisdom will continue to illuminate countless lives, transcending the limitations of time and space. Late at night, While the lay practitioners had all fallen into deep sleep, Ananda remained awake, his mind filled with reflections on the future. After the Buddha's parinirvana, how should the Dharma lineage be transmitted? How can the teachings be preserved in their purest form? How can sentient beings comprehend the most profound truths? At that moment, a gentle breeze brushed past Ananda's face, carrying the fragrance of distant blossoms. Ananda suddenly understood something and smiled gently. He recalled that the Buddha said truth is in the present moment, in your breath, in the sensation of the wind brushing past your face. Under the moonlight, a serene smile appeared on Ananda's face. He understood that the Buddha's final teachings were not only about the wisdom of nirvana and samsara, but also a direct guidance on the essence of life. In the darkness before dawn, Ananda felt an unprecedented sense of tranquility. No matter what the future holds, regardless of whether the Buddha's physical body remains or departs, one thing is certain. Truth is eternal, and awakening is always possible. As the filtered sunlight penetrated the clouds, Ananda rose and walked towards where the Buddha was. Today might be their last day together, but Ananda no longer feels fear or sorrow, for he understands that on a deeper level, there is neither coming together nor parting. The Buddha has awakened. His countenance appears more serene than yesterday. When he saw Ananda approaching, a compassionate smile appeared on his face. Ananda, your gaze has changed. It seems you have come to understand something. Ananda knelt before the Buddha, but this time it was no longer out of habit or etiquette. It was born from genuine respect in his heart. Yes, Shakyamuni, I am beginning to understand your teachings from yesterday. Nirvana is not a destination to go to, but the realization that we have never truly left home. The Buddha's eyes shimmered with a glow of contentment. Continue, Ananda. You asked me whether you will continue to be reborn after your nirvana? Ananda further said, I now understand that this question itself presupposes a dualistic separation. It is like asking whether fallen leaves will return to the tree or whether the river will flow back to the mountain peak. These issues themselves arise from a misunderstanding of the worldly realm. If nirvana and samsara are essentially no different, Ananda asked, then why do sentient beings seek enlightenment? Why practice cultivation? A glimmer of approval flashed in the Buddha's eyes. This is a good question, Ananda. Practice is not about escaping from something, but about seeing clearly the true nature of everything. When you see clearly, you will find there is nothing to escape from and nothing to pursue. This is true freedom. Ananda suddenly experienced a profound awakening. For many years, he regarded practice as a means to reach a certain goal. Now he begins to understand that true practice is realizing we have never been apart from the goal. The Buddha smiled weakly yet peacefully, his gaze transcending time and space. Ananda, remember, do not cling to my departure, for at a deeper level, I have never truly left. Ananda nodded, tears glistening in his eyes, but this time they were no longer tears of sorrow, but tears of understanding and acceptance. The sun rises, and a new day begins. On this morning within the megalithic inner city, one era is about to end, and another is about to begin. But for Ananda, the most important thing was not the past or the future, but the clear and mindful awareness of the present moment, for only in the now could he truly perceive the eternal truth pointed out by the Buddha. The Buddha smiled at Ananda and said, Nirvana is not about departing, but about returning to the original source. Just as a small river ultimately flows into the vast ocean, my individual existence will merge into the boundless expanse of the Dharma realm. I do not undergo samsara, for the concept of self is itself an illusion. Yet I have never departed, because my essence is no different from yours and that of all sentient beings. When Ananda finally comprehended the Buddha's teachings, the fear and unease within his heart dissolved. He understood the essence of the cycle of birth and death, and also understood why the Buddha could face nirvana with complete equanimity. Life is like the waves in the ocean, seemingly independent, yet never truly separate from the vast sea. After the Buddha's Nirvāṇa, he continues to exist in every corner of the Dharma realm. Wherever compassion and wisdom are present, the spirit of the Buddha lives forever. At that moment, Ananda truly realized that every breath, every moment of awareness, every act of compassion was a reconnection with the Buddha and the essence of the Dharma realm. Nirvana is not the end, but the beginning of a return to the origin. It is the awakening to the realization that we have never truly been separated.